Hello, my friends. So today I would like to share with you why certain things we hold to be true are assumptions. And I want to also discuss the similarity between an assumption, a belief, and a superstition. Because I believe, interesting, okay. As soon as I used the word believe, I also said I believe, which means I have a certain stance on a particular truth. But I didn't mean that. Let's explore the similarity between belief, superstition, and assumption. A belief is an idea that you hold to be true. Is it true? If you hold it to be true, then is it true? Yes, it's true for you. It's a kind of relative truth, not an absolute truth. Okay, we'll come to what absolute truth is in a moment, I hope. But if you believe in a particular idea, it simply means that you hold that idea to be true. That means you have a certain assumption. And whether that's true or whether that's a superstition needs to be explored through direct experience. I would say a superstition is, again, a belief in an idea that cannot be proved. That cannot be proved experientially. I'm not talking logically or through reason, just experientially. So if you believe in something that cannot be proven experientially, then that would be called a superstition. So I think there's some common ground between what we call beliefs, superstitions, and assumptions. One of the most significant assumption, belief, superstition that exists today, including in the world of science and technology, is the belief or assumption or superstition in a substance called matter. So is there such a thing, or is this a good, useful construct, belief, assumption, superstition, which helps us create technology and everything that we call the human civilization is based on the idea that there's a substance called matter. And also that you and I are persons before we are scientists or philosophers or husbands or wives or children or parents. We are actually persons, that there is such an entity called a person. So what I want to explore with you is that when you look hard enough experientially, you will neither find a person nor will you find a substance called matter. And this is something we do experientially. Forget rational knowledge for the moment, experientially. Okay, experientially. So let's take this example. This is called an iPhone, and it's made of matter. But when we look at this substance called matter, all we discover is our own perceptual activity, which is our own self modifying itself as this perceptual activity, which includes sound, taste and smell, sensation, form, color. Anything that you call an object is an experience. And for us, it's a human experience, which means we're taking a narrow bandwidth of modalities of experience, and then we're constructing the notion of matter, a belief in matter. And as I said, human civilization is a result of this belief. But you will never find a substance called matter. No matter how hard you try, you will only find your own perceptions. And the combination of perceptions is what creates what we call objects. Objects, including the object we call watch or a human body, along with its mind. They're all objects. But they're not even objects. They're experiences before we call them objects. Doesn't matter what the experience is. You know, a virtual particle detected by, sensors is still an experience. A virtual particle detected at the Hadron Collider, Higgs boson, whatever, is still an experience, and then an interpretation of that experience given a name: boson, electron, gravitational field, strong and weak interactions, electromagnetism. These are first experiences before we give them a name. Once we give them a name, we call them objects, we call them forces, we call them energy. And then we say matter and energy are the same. These are very useful constructs. And without these, we wouldn't have started with steam engines and automobiles and then airplanes and now rockets and now exploring the Big Bang and also looking at the world of microscopic activity, the popping in and out of virtual particles as determined by the uncertainty principle, etc., etc. We have created a cosmology based on this assumption called matter. But you will not find matter. When we create technology, what we manipulate is our perceptual activity to expand the dreamscape that we're already in. Okay, now let's look at an entity called a person. This is a person. But a person is not a noun. It's a verb. It's an activity of the same modalities of experience: sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, and it's changing all the time. So what we call a person is ungraspable. Any identity you have, any identity is ungraspable. It's changing every second, from child and adult, and every second there's a difference in what we call the person at the level of body, mind, emotions, ego development, etc. So there is neither something called a person, nor is there a physical world. But we live our lives pretending we are persons, or assuming we are persons, and assuming that there is a physical world. Now, this is a useful assumption, useful belief, useful superstition, and it makes us navigate experience with each other and the so-called physical world, but it also gives rise to conundrums. How did matter create mind? How did matter create emotions? How did matter create reflection and intuition and insight and imagination and the desire for knowledge and curiosity and wonder and surprise and transcendence and the concepts of space-time, etc., causality? This, of course, is called the hard problem, which, other than what is the universe made of, is the most significant scientific conundrum of all time. How does matter create mind? Okay. And how does mind create matter? And the answer is neither creates the other. They're both interpretations of perceptual and cognitive inquiry. Okay, so perceptual activity, the belief in magical lies as fundamental truth, and then the interpretation of that called matter. And when we look directly through our own experience, then we find neither matter nor a person. And that in the beginning can be disconcerting, but ultimately it is liberating, because that which modifies itself into a person or the experience that we call matter is formless and infinite and boundless and borderless and irreducible and without cause, and the real you. And getting in touch with the real you is the alleviation of all suffering. So whether you look at Eastern wisdom traditions, or such as Buddhism or Hinduism or Western traditions, which kind of cloak it in a more metaphorical way, the belief in Caesar or the belief in God, using the words belief. No need. We just need to explore. And when we explore, then we find that all that exists is this infinite, formless non-substance, which happens to be thinking non-stuff, which is modifying itself into the appearance of that which we call a person and that which we call the changing world. The forms and phenomena come and go, but the awareness is timeless, eternal, and it is you. This is liberation from suffering, because liberation from suffering is both attachment and aversion to superstition or substance or matter. And that is a result of the veil of ignorance, veil, hiding the truth, the magnificence of the divine that is you. Between these three, craving, aversion, and ignorance, we create everything that we call the separate self and the separate mind and the separate objects of the world. And of course, this separation creates fear and anxiety and false identity, and ultimately the fear of death. In order to go beyond the fear of death and find your true identity, therefore, please question your assumption about the existence of matter, a physical world, and a person. Please question these, and you will see that there are magical lies that make this play of consciousness that we call the physical you world possible. It's called Leela, based on the veil of ignorance, which is called Maya. Think about this, reflect on this, and discover for your own self that there is no substance called matter, that there is no such thing as a person, and therefore no such thing as birth or death. Let me know if this is useful.